Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop. I'm your host Keith, joined by Matt. Tonight we're going to look at transfers, and the transfer window sort of starting to kick off. Maybe not so much for Liverpool, but for other teams might be having a lovely time of it. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Getting ready to move halfway across the entire continent here in the next
That's
couple
still
of days.
happening, is it? Is that still a
Yeah,
thing?
that's still happening. Judging by the number of boxes in my house, I'm guessing, yeah, that's definitely still
Definitely
happening.
going to
So,
happen. Yeah, good stuff.
yeah,
Good stuff.
that's lots of good fun. It's also great that we'll be on the road when the Euro final is on. So that's a little bit disappointing because
The
Euro.
Euros have been absolute dirt, Matt. You're not going to miss anything. All the good teams are getting knocked out.
The
The
Dutch are finding their
Georges and
form.
all that. Yeah,
Dutch are
all the
finding
big
their form.
nations have stinking the gaff out. We'll touch a bit on the international stuff in a while as well. Tonight we're going to talk about transfer rumours more so than that else. And look, people lose their shit about Liverpool. There's not much links. We'll be honest with you from the outset. But we're going to talk about a few names. We're going to talk about a few players that are linked. What our feelings are going forward, what we maybe should look at, what we could do with the squad if the linked players were to come on board. And we'll also talk about other transfers around the league that have gone through. We'll start off with Liverpool, Matt. And it's not new news, but I haven't been on a show in a while. So I want to just have a little chat to you about Anthony Gordon. What have you made of the Anthony Gordon news that's been coming out and the signals coming from Newcastle about it? I think it's been a bit of a weird one. I think Newcastle have come out of this looking like absolute fools. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard to give Newcastle anything other than a failing grade for their handling of it. It seems like they were in kind of desperate straits with trying to come into compliance with the PSR stuff before what Minta and Elliot Anderson went for outrageous fees and probably got them there. But they've whatever the opposite of playing a blinder is, like playing a full sighter seems to be what Newcastle have done here. Because like I was on a show on Sunday and we were kind of talking about it. I know Gav's not huge on Anthony Gordon because, he's got a bit of a divey sort of tendency about him. But I mean, if he's diving and winning,
Suarez.
Yeah, if he's diving and winning penalties for Liverpool, I'm happy to eat my words on him, sort of thing. And I posed the question in the Telegram to some of the members there of, if you could kind of take a straight swap and it didn't cost you any money and Luis Diaz was leaving to go outside of England, not saying Diaz to Newcastle sort of thing, but you'd replace Diaz with Anthony Gordon, would you do it? And I for one would. Like I think he's got room to grow. He's just coming into the prime of his career, and he impressed me last year. And hearing that not only, he had, I think, 10 goals and 11 assists or something like that, but he scored against all of the traditional Big Six teams. He scored, opening goals in big games against big opponents. And that's a pretty good tendency to have, because it's not something that I associate with Luis Diaz so much. Not so much last season, but the season before, it seemed like he was getting a lot of Pyrrhic victory kind of goals where the game was lost and he would go and score a goal and it bumps his numbers up a little bit. But I'm interested to get your take on it, because we kind of had a bit of a split on Sunday between Emmett, Gav, and I on the Anthony Gordon situation. So what's your feeling on him?
I like him. I didn't like him. I'll be honest. I didn't like him when he was played for Everton. I didn't like him when he was gone to Newcastle. And what turned with me was he done an interview on the Overlap, I think it was, and he came across as a very, very level-headed fella, much different than the character I've seen on the pitch, and that sort of changed my opinion on him. I think the fact that he's English, I think the fact that he's from Liverpool, I think the fact that he's a Liverpool fan is all big. I think you have to get players like that into the team. You have to keep that type of player into the club. As a player itself, I think he's exactly what the team needs. I think he's direct. I think he's quick. I think he has an eye for goal. Is he better than Luis Diaz? I don't know. I mean, Luis Diaz, I think, has to change the way he plays for a start. I mean, if you watch, we'll talk about Copa America later. If you watch Luis Diaz when he plays for his country, he's the main man and he's all encompassing and does everything there. At Liverpool, he had a role to play. And I think he, he plays well, but the end product maybe isn't there. That maybe Gordon has an edge on him. But I love Diaz as well, to be honest. Would I keep the 5 we have and bring in Anthony Gordon? I would, 100%, because we're all transfer junkies deep down our heart. Even if we try to claim that we're not, and we turn our nose up at the transfer junkies online, we all love a good transfer. I think Newcastle have, as you said, they've had a stinker with this, because your man up in the Telegraph, Luke, what's his name? Luke Edwards,
Edwards.
or him. He comes out on Friday and says about, Liverpool, Gordon, Gordon being offered to Liverpool and all this sort of carry on, and the Jarrell Quansah being part of the deal. And then on Monday comes out and sort of backtracks. It's like he had his he had his knuckles wrapped over it. And he's talking about, Gordon needs to do this and Gordon needs to do that, which I thought was absolutely bizarre. And I've been listening to other content about it, and they're all saying the same thing. Gordon hasn't really done anything here. Newcastle tried to ship him out, and it's sort of come back to hit him in the face. I think he's only got 2 years left on his contract, because he only signed a short deal when he went to Newcastle. And I think they've put themselves in a position where they'll either offer him a ridiculous pay rise to stay there, or his position, his long-term future is untenable there. And I can't believe Newcastle have put themselves in that position. I think it shows the difference. Look, I know Twitter or X, whatever it's called, it's got this fucking people on there that are not real people. They're not in the real world and all that sort of stuff. They talk about, not the likes in Newcastle having to sell their best players and not being part of the red cartel, as they call it, Liverpool, Manchester United and Arsenal, which is a load of bollocks, really. But it just goes to show how poorly they've played this. You know what I mean? If you want to play big boy football and run a club in a big boy way, you don't come out and do this, what they've done. And I think they've left themselves open to absolutely ridicule in the future. But look, we'll see what happens with it. Do we think we'll sign Gordon? I don't think we will, to be honest. I don't think we're going to sign him in this season. But I think it's one to watch in the future, because, as you said, they've sold Minter to Brighton and Elliot Anderson to Forest, and I think they got about 60 million for the pair of them, was it?
Yeah, more than that. Like 65, 66,
60
something
odd.
like that.
Yeah, they got big money for them.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying, Sam Tandy's comment here, he says, I think Diaz signs a new contract, gets sold next summer to Barcelona for big money, and we sign Gordon next summer. And that's the sort of thing you can see happening. I struggle to see Diaz maybe signing a new contract, but I could see this sort of swapping out the left-sided players there. The other one, where is it here, is Bear saying Liverpool are overstacked on the left-hand side. He's not what we need. And I mean, especially when you see the form that Gakpo's putting up at the Euros, playing off of the left where he looks dynamite. I don't know this, maybe you don't know either, Keith, but does Gordon strike you as somebody that could be used on the right-hand side?
I think so. I mean, I think it's all guesswork, isn't it? Because none of us really know what Slot is going to do. You can look at how he played at Feyenoord, and you can say, right, he's going to do this. He's definitely going to do that. But Klopp changed the way he played when he came from Dortmund. Klopp was a 4-2-3-1 man at Dortmund, and he went to 4-3-3 in the Premier League. So we don't know. I think if I'm picking the team now based on what we're seeing, I think Gakpo is in the team. Like, I think he has to play from the left-hand side. I think he's absolutely got the hot hand there in the summer. And you ride that wave, and he's Dutch, and Slot will lean on him, I think. So then I think it's up to the others to adapt. Can Diaz play right wing? I think he definitely can play right wing. I think Diaz, the problem with Diaz is he stays very wide. So he doesn't play like Mane. He's not playing in between the winger and the centre forward. He's playing too wide. He'll run up the line, and then he's always cutting back to get inside, which sort of counterproductive to me. It's a bit pointless because he doesn't score enough, or he doesn't assist enough from them areas. So maybe he plays wide on the right and he drifts in from that side. And I think you could see him doing that. Anthony Gordon, I think, could play either side. I think Anthony Gordon could play the right side as well. And it'll be just interesting to see. Yes, like Kev there, Slot likes right-footed wingers on the right. Diaz could be that guy. Exactly. And we just have to wait and see. I think, the players were being linked with the likes of Bakayoko is left-footed on the right, isn't he? So, it's it's all paper talk really at the moment, and until we see how the team starts shaping up, and maybe this summer, and people hate hearing it, it's not going to be the gangbusters summer that we were all hoping for and expecting, which I myself said a while ago. I thought it might have been a rare war chest summer, only for the fact that it's a new manager, it's a new sporting director, it's a case of rip it up and start again. I don't think it's going to be the case now. I think they're going to just stick mainly with the team that are there. And I do think there will be additions. I think there'll be a couple of players. Well, I think there'll be a minimum of 3 players coming in that will be good players. But who they are and where they play, I don't really know.
Yeah, because it's been surprisingly, I mean, maybe not surprisingly with the Euros and the Copa on right now, but it's been quiet in terms of even just garbage rumors coming out. You know, somebody has a good couple of games at one of the tournaments and they're linked with every half decent team in Europe. But Kevin Ball's saying he thinks things will heat up next week, and the team starts showing up tomorrow. So we get our first press conference, we get our first live fire exercise. Arne Slot facing questions from the media. He starts getting to actually see in person what he's working with. Now it's, you know, some of the bare bones of the squad. Like, I'm not sure if Salah's expected back tomorrow or anything like that. So it'll be some of the younger players, but it'll be the
Well, I think the younger players are back since Monday, are they, or Tuesday? I think some of the senior players are back from tomorrow. Now, whether Salah is part of that group, he's not at an international tournament, so I wouldn't see why he wouldn't be. But, you know, who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, it goes to, like, Kevin Ball falls up again. He says, are we surprised that no one's been sold yet, like Sepp Vandenberg or a few other Fringe players? And I personally think that that's Arne Slot wanting to put eyes on these players himself. Yeah. Like, you can get all the video footage from all the training sessions from last season, or, you know, I mean, for Sepp Vandenberg, it would have been from preseason, you know, training sessions from the last couple of years. But I get the feeling that coming in with a kind of a fresh start, a clean slate, that before you're sending anybody out the door, with maybe the exception of, you know, Nat Phillips or Reese Williams or somebody like that, that the coaches are actually going to want to see what they have to deal with. Because the last thing you want to do is let go of a player who turns out to be exactly what you needed in the team, but you were a little bit too quick on getting out of there. Kev O'Sullivan says it should be ones not involved in the summer internationals returning. So, yeah, so that would be the likes of Endo and Mo Salah coming back.
Yeah.
You know,
you'd imagine so. And then I think the lads who were knocked out early in tournaments, so the likes of Szoboszlai and Robertson, I think they'll get another couple of weeks on top of that before they'll start reporting back. But it'll be interesting. The likes of, you mentioned Sepp Vandenberg there. Now, people go mad about Sepp Vandenberg. He was excellent last season for Mainz, and Arne Slot will be well aware of Sepp Vandenberg, because I suppose if you're looking, you know, that's the type of market that maybe Feyenoord are looking at. You know what I mean? That sort of lower tier in these other countries. So if a player is doing well, a Dutch player is doing well there, they'd have an eye on that to see what's happening. And he might like Sepp Vandenberg as much as people get annoyed about that. He might like what he says with him. He might think he needs a tall player. He's not great with the ball, but maybe he's developed that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see, because he's played at fullback or wingback, didn't he? When he was at loan at Preston, he was playing at wingback. So it surprised me, but we'll see what happens with him.
Here's a name that you brought up when we all did our individual purse strings there. Bob Paddock says Vieford joining Brighton for 30 million. So that was kind of some of the scuttlebutt coming out today, wasn't it?
Well, that's it. It gets reported that, you know, by some Dutch outlet that Arne Slot and Liverpool are trying to hijack the deal for Mats Wiefer, but they've left it too late. Now, I don't think we tried to hijack anything, to be honest with you, because for all that I'm saying, I think Arne Slot knows all about Sepp Vandenberg. He definitely knows all about Mats Wiefer, and he certainly knows all about, you know, the ins and outs of how Feyenoord do that business. So I think if he wanted Mats Wiefer, they were talking about a verbal agreement. It's too late because there's a verbal agreement. I never heard of a verbal agreement being concrete. You know what I mean? So the whole thing just sounded like absolute schadenfreude, just to get Liverpool linked and to get the deal over the line. But I heard another one, Matt, while we're talking about this sort of nonsense. I've seen another one about Liverpool failed in their attempt to hijack Manchester United's deal for Matthias de Ligt. and that he turned down Liverpool. He gave us the custard pie because it's Manchester United or not. Now, just from the offset on that one, I do think it's a case for him of Manchester United or nothing, because he played his best football of his career under Ten Hag at Ajax.
Yeah.
So I've no issue about that, but I don't think there's any fucking planet or stratosphere that Liverpool are trying to sign him and that he turned us down. I think he doesn't seem to be the profile of player, because as far as I know, I could be wrong, I think he's on huge dough at Bayern Munich. I think Manchester United are getting him relatively cheap as well to sort of counteract the fact that you'll be paying heavy wage when he gets there. But it's amazing how Liverpool get linked with these players, and you can't see there being any real concrete links. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I think Matthijs de Ligt is fairly young. He's not an old player by any means, but he got bombed out really at Bayern. And I don't really see it being the one that Liverpool are going to. Well, have you got an opinion on him, or would you be a player you'd be interested in us?
After that season with that dynamite Ajax team, I would have been all over Matthijs de Ligt, because he really looked like he was on the path to becoming the next world-class center half. And he went to Juventus, and if there's a place, in my opinion, where you're going to go as a defender and prove your worth, it's going to be at Juventus. Yeah. You know, he should have been the heir apparent to Bonucci and who's the other one? Chiellini. You know, he should have been the guy to just lead that Juventus backline for 10, 15 years, playing in the Italian league, and it didn't work. You know, gets another move to Bayern Munich, and ACDC here says he was trash at Bayern. Somebody else said the same sort of thing, that he kind of got tossed out of the team. I was Aiden91 says Juve and Bayern were quick to ship him out. Big wage, the new Maguire. And that's kind of what it's feeling like. I mean, to go Ajax, Juventus, Bayern, Manchester United, possibly. It's like
by the age of 24.
I know. It's like collecting the Infinity Stones of, you know, world-renowned clubs, but not pulling up trees anywhere. And like somebody said earlier today, when the story was kind of coming around, I saw on WhatsApp or Telegram, whatever it was, of like, he lost his spot to Eric Dyer.
Yeah.
And if that's not a damning indictment of how you're doing. And Kev here says de Ligt at 34 million pounds is a good buy, especially when you see Niakate going from Forest to Lyon for 32 million pounds. It's in terms of the transfer fee.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's on, I just checked here. He's on £260,000 a week at Bayern Munich.
Oh, shit.
Now, I'm assuming he's looking for a pay rise to move, right? So you're going into the realms of the 300. I don't think it's a good buy at all.
You're effectively talking them replacing all of Raphael Varane's wages.
Yeah.
You know, they were happy to get those Varane. I think he was on 320 or 340,000 a week, something like that. And you're just going to completely use up all those. So, like, you know, when we're playing our little game and we're like, okay, Thiago and Matip, that gives you 250, 270,000 to spend. And it's like all of it on Matthijs de Ligt. Yeah, I mean, it's a few people here pointing out that, you know, Cathal Robinson saying he did his ACL last season, but expect he'll be back at some stage during preseason. He's injury prone. Bracky's saying he's not settled at two big clubs now, so it's a risk. Like, and I think the whole tying Liverpool into it, because I also don't believe that. Like, we'll speak a little bit about Calafiore next, but we're obviously in the market for a center half. We've lost Joel Matip. He needs to be replaced in the squad. So I don't think it's a secret or any sort of amazing shout to say that Liverpool are going to be in the market for a center half this year. But I don't know if Matthijs de Ligt was ever on our radar. But I'm sure it'll make the United fans feel better if they can get one over on us. Because last summer, they chased Frankie de Jong all summer. And they were happy to just throw that in everybody's faces. Oh, he's chosen Manchester United. He's chosen Manchester United. If it makes you...
They done it with Mason Mount last summer, and then they decided they were doing it with Sofiane Amrabat as well. Yeah. And I've been able to live with losing out on them too, to be honest. Kev says it's not a problem for Man United paying that money. No, it's not a problem for Man United, but I would have thought, and I'm not a Manchester United fan, I fucking hate them. if I was a Manchester United fan, I would be expecting the club to be smarter and to be not handing out whopper wages to players that are on their fourth team by the age of 24. Where's the hunger? Where's the desire? Maybe it's the fact that he's relatively failed at the last two clubs, and that's. But if you're giving him that money, I don't know. It could work out. I'm sure they'll be happy. Mr. Sinclair is saying, "Oh, they're getting things done. We leave it late." Nobody knows what we're doing, and we do good business every year. We do good business every year. There was the years after we won the league and the Champions League, we probably, didn't do enough, certainly. But in general, the last few years, we've done okay. And I expect us to do the same again this year.
I mean, and
think for
in
what it's worth.
retrospect, the year after we won the Champions League, we did sign Harvey Elliott. And,
Yeah.
with the power of hindsight, that's looking like a pretty fucking smart move that we made there.
It's a great signing.
Yeah, I mean, Wizard says
And we bought Sepp as well, did we? We bought Vandenberg, and we're trying to flip him now for heavy dough as well. So you know what I mean? Not too bad.
There you go. Wizard says you just got to sit and wait for Edwards and Slot to do what they do. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's probably more Hughes.
It's going to be Hughes, yeah. People think it's Edwards. Edwards isn't Liverpool. He's FSG, which Liverpool fall under the remit of, and Hughes reports into him. But it's going to be Edwards that's doing. It's going to be Hughes that's doing the business. Which will be interesting to see what happens there.
Mm-hmm. But the other name at the back there, because Chris Brack says, I've liked Mark Gahey whenever I've seen him play, but I think he prefers the left-hand side. I also like Mark Gahey. I think he's a pretty tidy player. I mean, it's pretty easy to stand out in that England side at the Euros, but I think he's kind of stood out in that England side at the Euros. I think he's looked better than John Stones has, which is saying something, actually, because John Stones is a quality footballer. But the other center half that's been linked with us is Ricardo Calafiori, and I'd never heard of him. I don't pay a lot of attention to Serie A.
I'll guarantee you nobody's heard of him, right? I'll guarantee you no Liverpool fan has heard of him before the Euros and before we start getting linked to him, because nobody's watching Bologna. Very few people are watching.
I'm sure one
Bologna.
of the Rajives are watching Bologna every single minute of every single match or something like that. But yeah, it's one of those players, and that's the danger, isn't it, Keith? And we said it before the tournament even started, of like, who's going to be the guy that catches the eye at the tournament, and then all of a sudden they're the El Hadj Diouf, or they're the James Rodriguez or whatever it is that pops up at the tournament. But to be fair, I watched Italy's. I think I watched all of Italy's games, and he was good. I thought Calafiori was good, but it sounds like he's possibly Arsenal bound now.
Yeah, he's Arsenal bound. But when you're reading the reports, it's Arsenal and Chelsea are the teams in from. Liverpool aren't even getting mentioned. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's as usual. It's just 2 and 2 equals 16, and Liverpool are getting linked with these players. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Calafiori. He starts out with a left back. He plays centre back. He's 6'2". I think he can play both positions really well. I thought he was Italy's best defender in the Euros. Thought he was very good. And would I like the same at Liverpool? No. And the reason, and maybe it's prejudice, we've been burnt with Italians before, badly. I don't know if I'm ready to be hurt again by the Italians. Our track record hasn't
burnt
been
as
great.
badly as one specific Italian's own bathroom, right?
Well, we've had him, right? Balotelli, we've had Barini, we've had Dassina, we've had Aquilani. I'm sure there's been others. Nothing has hit. Nothing has really stuck, and that's unfair. It's a reason why I never thought Barella would come to Liverpool. I don't think they leave Italy that much. I think they tend to stay there and stay amongst the big clubs. So it'll be interesting to see how Calafiori develops at Arsenal and plays. Left back is an area I think that they could do with a player. Because I assume he will be. He's not going to be a centre back. He's not going to dislodge Saliba or Gabriel. So he's going to play as a left back who will be centre back, similar to Ben White on the right. It'll be interesting. It could be a good move for him, but it's probably not for us. Again, Mr. Sinclair, for the right player, wages shouldn't matter. It's not going to affect our bank accounts. I'm assuming our you mean by as in us talking about it, but wages should matter, because for the right player, you're saying, if we signed, for example, let's go back to the Ligt again. If we were to try and sign Matthias de Ligt and we offered him 300,000 a week, he automatically is just behind Mo Salah as our highest earner, right? He was on 350. And that's his base salary, by the way, according to Capology. So it's 270 base. He'd be well up there. Trent, we don't know what's happening with him. Virgil, all these lads that are out of contract. Mo, it automatically pushes your wage salary up. You know, Liverpool have a salary, not a cap because Salah smashed that, but they do have a sort of tradition of not just throwing money. And I do not want us to break that. And I certainly don't want us to break it for Matthias de Ligt. Do you know what I mean? So the right player, and I think that's the key point of what Mr. Sinclair says, for the right player, wage shouldn't be I agree, but you know, this isn't the right player. And the players that Manchester United are doing it for, certainly not the right players. Kev O'Sullivan's an interesting one there. Slotterbeck is the one he'd love to get. I like Slotterbeck as well. He's a good player. I think you can probably get him. I don't know. I haven't seen any prices linked with him, so I don't know what Kev thinks you'd have to pay to get a Slotterbeck. But you know, I'd say you could do that. I think we will sign a centre back, but I think it'll be similar profile to Calafiori in that I think they'll be playing left back, centre back. You know what I mean? I think there'll be a player that can do both. I just don't think it will be an Italian player. But
it sounds like Branthwaite talk to me. That sounds like Branthwaite talk to me.
Well, I mean, what a summer that'd be if we signed Anthony Gordon and Jarrett Branthwaite. That would
the fucking fume. And then it's a 6, you go and grab Andre Onana.
I think the city of Liverpool would be burnt to the ground if that was to happen. But
you can't burn that new stadium, though. It's all covered in water.
It's in the water.
It's all covered in water. I love that Thor, the dyslexic polyglot, is trying to start the rumor of Saliba to Real Madrid. But I mean, that wouldn't be an outrageous rumor. Like, he is one of the top center halves in world football currently. And Real Madrid, at some point or another, Eder Militao is going to need to be replaced. Tony Rudiger is going to need to be replaced.
David Alaba is going to be replaced. Nacho
I completely forgot he was even there.
But when is his contract up? Because Real Madrid's new model now is signing players on freeze, you know, and that's seems to be the route that they're going down. They will give huge signing on fees. Not that they don't pay, of course they do. They sign players and pay, but for the likes of Saliba, they're not going to be paying 100 million for a player, I don't think now. Or they're not going to pay a club 100 million. You know, yeah. I think Mbappe will get that as a dropsy just for signing, but Real Madrid, yeah, they when we say it there, like you're looking at, I think Militao is quite young. I think he's quite injury prone. But Nacho is 34, he's gone. Rudiger must be 30. I don't know, he must be 30, and anyway, it could surprise me. David Alaba has to be over 30 as well. So the age profile of those Madrid defenders, and it's why they're linked with Lenny Yoro and why they're mad to get Lenny Yoro, because that just looks like it's going to be a Varane type of signing, and I think did Varane play for Lens as well? I think he might have done, where they go and they get him and they sweet talk him with Zidane, who was his idol, and he goes in and plays. And I think they've had him at the Champions League final. Very hard to get anyone out of Madrid's grasp if they want them. In fact, I'd say it's nigh on impossible to do it. And people will throw Alisson into the mix and all there. I don't know how concrete that ever was. I think if Madrid are putting on the full charm offensive for a player,
pack it in,
it's game over. They're not going to knock out, and that's why I think Trent will go there. I think Trent will be gone out the gap. I don't think he signs a new contract at Liverpool. I think he will go to Madrid on a free. I think Alphonso Davies will go to Madrid on a free, and I think Lenny Yoro will go to Madrid on a free. That's what I think is going to happen with all those players, and I think it's a model that they'll do. They'll look at the Brazilian market like they did with Vinicius, like they did with Rodrigo, and they may look to bring in young players from that sort of neck of the woods and park them off. And, Endrick, park them there quite young, let them develop. But I think for superstars now, knowing the wages you have to pay them and knowing the total package, if you think of Kylian Mbappe, the rumours are saying that he's getting 100 million signing on fee. He must, I don't know what he's earning, we must be close to $1 million a week. Do you know what I mean? Because I think he was earning something ridiculous like that at PSG. Madrid, well, it's not a bottomless pit. You know what I mean? The books do have to be balanced in a way. So if they're cutting out a transfer fee on that, they'll do that. You know what I mean? They'll pay a transfer fee and they will, pay it for an Endrick, let's say. And I don't know what Endrick's going to earn, but I can't imagine he's going to be the top earner at the club at 17 or whatever. So they'll pay the fee. Like Vinicius, they paid record money for him as 16. And, he's now turning into the player that they thought. So that's how I think their model will be. Keith, your heartbreaker. What can I say? It's just the way I feel. Bob Haddock, Trent won't leave us. If Trent leaves on a free, it obviously shafts us potential FFP benefits. I agree with Keith, though. I'd almost actively try to sell. See, this is the problem. I genuinely don't see a world where Trent extends. I think this Jude Bellingham nonsense that they're having, which we all thought was Trent trying to sweet talk Jude into coming to Liverpool, turns out it's just a big ruse to get them both to Madrid.
Yeah, didn't see that one coming, did we, Keith?
No, they look at bleeding M. Night Shyamalan job. This one, it absolutely sucker punched us. See, this is the problem with it, Kev, isn't it? And look, we've spoke about this before, and we've no power with Trent now. Do you know what I mean? Like we can't actively sell him, because where do we sell him to? Do we sell him to Madrid? Like, would you go to Madrid and say, look, give us whatever? We're not in a position to get good money for him. You can't force him somewhere. Do you know what I mean? If he wants to go to Madrid next year to play with Bellingham, and look, I don't know what he wants to do. That's just me assuming and guessing that he wants to do that. You can't just say, well, PSG, you're going to PSG. It's not like the NBA or, the NFL or the MLB where you get traded, you're gone, you're out.
It's where the player doesn't have a say in it. And I think, like what you were saying, like the notion of how Real Madrid seems to be operating, of giving the eyes, saying, run that contract down, we'll sign you on a free. Honestly, to me, I think that's the way that the transfer market is going to go. I think that's the way that it's going to go. I can see players signing more 3-year contracts than 5-year contracts, looking to leave on a free, because the one thing that you get, especially with like NFL and NBA, is when you're a free agent, you get that fat signing bonus.
Yeah.
And if you're not even talking in those sports, don't have transfer fees, but they're still giving players these big signing bonuses. And once that idea goes across the Atlantic and sets root into European football, it's going to be the way forward. Because why, if there's 150 million total euros for a transfer, why would you want your old club to get 80 million of that?
Yeah.
You can just put that all into your pocket. You can get your wages, you can pay your dad, you can pay your agent, get yourself a nice little wedge to get started with right there. And I really do think that I don't like giving Real Madrid a whole lot of credit, but the idea of signing players at 15, 16, 17 and trying to get them into your organization before they blow up and become 100 million pound players, and then signing players on the free, it really seems like the way that it's going to go. And it's really going to hamper teams that are running up against any sort of FFP or PSR requirements. Because like Kev said, you don't get anything for him. If Mason Mount leaves Chelsea on a free, they don't get to put 60 million onto the books. If Yakumba Minta leaves Newcastle on a free, that's 33 million that they don't get to put onto the books right there. So yeah. I mean, other than that though, Keith, it's pretty quiet in terms of Liverpool transfers. Like,
there was a link with Ait Nouri I seen as well. A big link with Ait Nouri came out, which was interesting. To me, he's a starting left back, so it's an interesting link, because I would have felt that Robertson is fine there to me, and people will go into the comments after they watch the show back and will lash me over for daring to say Robertson is still a good player. He's better than Tsimikas for a start, and no disrespect to Costas, but I would have thought he would be the one that would be moved on, and we would be replacing him with a backup. As I said earlier, I felt it would be a player who could play left back, centre back. Ait Nouri's interesting because he'd be a first teamer. He'd be a player that's Robbo can't play twice. No, I get that, Bob. Yeah, I get that. And if you're happy to rotate them, but I don't know. It's an odd one for me. I think it nearly be an eye on replacing. I think if you had a manager, well, I suppose like if you have a sport director that's going to be a bit more ruthless and will move on all their players, maybe that's what they're looking at. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that one develops. Yeah, 8 it just caught me a bit by surprise because I was like, okay, good player. I like him. To be honest, I like him. I think he's very good.
Yeah, I mean, Kev O'Sullivan's wondering if you see him as a left back or more as a wing back. I'm pretty sure Wolves played almost exclusively with a back four last year. I don't think
Did
Wolves
they?
played with a back five last year.
They played when Nuno was there. They always played with a
Yeah,
back
because they
four,
had
didn't they?
Connor
Or a
Cody,
back
they had
three.
Boney, they had Kilman in there making
Yeah,
up their back.
and they had the Irish fella Matt Doherty
Nathan
on the right
Collins.
wing back, and
Oh
he
yeah,
had these.
Doherty.
Yeah,
Man with the
so
worst hair in the world.
yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. I think you could do both, but I think when you play for a club like Liverpool, all right, we use the example of Calafiori going to Arsenal and saying, they look to be going for that solid back four where they're four centre backs essentially. If it's Ben White on the right and Calafiori on the left and the two boys in the middle, that's just four. Boom, boom. You'd expect the fullbacks will still be getting forward. We were playing for a team like Liverpool under Klopp, certainly. Your fullbacks were wingers. They were attacking players. And anyway, I could see Aït-Nouri fitting into that totally. And I think at Feyenoord, I think Slot played pretty much similar. He would invert into the centre of mid when needed. He'd play in at centre back when needed. But I can't remember the left back's name. Oh, someone in the chat will remind me.
Feels
What the
like
fuck is
Ashley
it?
work.
The Quillish man or Quintish? What's his fucking name? He was a left, but he was just a fullback, getting up and down. He wasn't no centre back. Now Hanchko would play there as cover, who was a centre back, but I think Slot likes his fullbacks to be able to attack. So yeah, Aït-Nouri would make a lot of sense. But look, I think we're just plucking at straws here, are we?
Yeah, nobody knows anything.
We've got 40 minutes out of that, which was all right.
I know that's shocking. Look, let's take a little look around the. In terms of actual transfers that have been done. Kev kind of mentioned it earlier. Moussa Niakate from Forest to Lyon for 32 million euros, which it does seem a bit outrageous. So that probably helps Forest out with not getting another points deduction.
But they've bought 35 million for Elliot Anderson, and this whole PSR shy. It's been said on other shows, other podcasts have said it, it's nearly like a transfer window within the transfer window where clubs are scrambling. And you had this carry on last week and I don't know how they get away with it. Right, I hate Man City because they're doing everything to sort of cheat their way. Their team on the pitch are great, and their manager's one of the best managers. I think he's the best coach in football history, personally. But how they got there, they cheated, they manipulated this, that. What Chelsea are doing is bleeding disgraceful, and it doesn't get mentioned anywhere near the same way. They paid Aston Villa 20 million for some fucking young fella that's played 100 minutes of senior football, right? I can't even remember his name, Kellyman or something. Someone will put it into the chat. Everton sold Lewis Dobbin to Villa. They got Tim Arobenham, who was a good player, and I've no issue with that one because I think that was valued at about 9 million, which I think is fair enough for a young sort of midfielder who was in the first team. So that one seemed okay. Chelsea were getting fucking players. Villa then got Ian Matson off Chelsea, 35 million.
It's a bit steep, but that's not terrible.
Well, he played in the Champions League final. Yeah. He's not a bad player, let's be honest. But, and if you look at what, Chelsea's big success has been the selling of their youth players. It's been outrageous from when Abramovich came in. They've had an excellent academy and they've made ridiculous money on youth players. But this little carry on of, little merry-go-round of the same teams who are all in trouble, just boxing off players to each other and valuing them bleeding through the roof is madness. But Villa have done good business, in my opinion. So they've brought in, well, I'm not going to count Dobbin. I don't think he'll see much fucking minutes.
That transfer's outrageous. The 12 million for Lewis Dobbin is outrageous.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bleeding mad one. But they brought in Junior Illing, Samuel Junior Illing from Juventus, and he brought in the Argentinian lad Enzo. what's his name? Baranchea, I think. Let me check that.
Is it on the back of your
Baranechea.
shirt? Oh, okay.
No. It both of them from Juventus, right? So
Yeah.
Baranchea was on loan at Frosinone last season, and he was a regular for them there. He's a midfielder. The Samuel Junior, English player, was at possibly fucking Chelsea's academy. I think he was at, or Spurs, one of them London clubs. Went off to Juventus, played an awful lot for them. Has made over 35, 40 appearances for Juventus since he's come in there. He getting them two in, I think about 18 million they spent on them two. They brought in Matson, and was there another? Did they bring in another big one? Oh, Ross Barkley. They brought in Ross Barkley as well.
Oh, did that get over the line? I think that's a good
Yeah.
sign. Yeah, I think that's.
And I know he was there before, and he didn't pull up any trays, but I think he went away to Luton and found himself again, and came back as a good holding midfield player, which he wasn't at Everton. So they lost Douglas Luiz, and that sort of the young fella that went to Chelsea for fucking 20 million. So the players went out, money came in, players came in. So they should be fine. But I think that if you take away the skullduggery and the schadenfreude of it all, I like that they're bringing in younger players like that, to supplement a very good team. Now, they have to upgrade in certain areas. I think Matty Cash is fucking brutal at right back. I think they need to do something there. They bring in Matson as a left back. They have Digne and Moreno. Is it Moreno? Alex Moreno?
Yeah, Alex Moreno. Yeah, he's the left back.
You have them
injury
too.
prone.
So you can see him getting in there. It's not bad business. Everton, as I said, brought in a Rubenham from Villa. I think that's a good sign. And I think that's, 9 million, I think, was the fee on that. No issues with that, because he's a good player. I think it goes in there, even though the principle of it was all a bit blatant shady. The actual signing itself, I think he will be a good player for them. And it was that, and you Archie Gray signed for Spurs as well, didn't he? Big money.
Back, 25 million pounds.
Was it 25, 30 million, something like that?
25,
30, I think it's still big money. He's still very young.
Yeah, he's only 18 or something like that. I watched Leeds maybe a handful of times last season. He never really stood out to me, but I watched the playoff final. I think it was the playoff final they lost in, right?
Yeah.
And I was watching when he was playing right back, and it was like, fucking, he looks good. Like,
yeah, he only turned 18 in March.
Spurs have a recent history of just spoiling players like that. When you think of Ryan Sessegnon, you think of Jed Spence, of players coming into. Now I know it's a whole new ball game over there now with Big Ange running the ship, so it might be a little bit different. But he was originally mooted to going to Brentford, I think it was, wasn't it, Archie Gray?
Yeah.
And then Spurs kind of come in and gazump the deal on him, and that solidifies it for him. But I mean, just on the Villa thing, they brought in some young players, but they've got a lot more work to do, I think, because they got Champions League football next year. And they got to flesh that squad out, because that wasn't a deep squad last year with European football. And, the competition's expanded this year, and it's more serious being in the Champions League than being in, I think they were in the Conference League last year. They're going to need to add something to that, because they've lost a lot of quality. Like, as much as I think that Ross Barkley had a good season last year for Luton, I think Douglas Luiz had a significantly better season for Villa. So, they've added a body. I think they've brought in 4 and lost 3 or lost 2 or something like that. So they're adding more bodies to the squad, but in terms of overall quality, they're going to have to do a little bit more there. I see Bonkers LFC is saying that Coop Miners and Kefram Turam at Juventus. But then I think, did somebody say that it was actually Marcus Thuram?
No, Kefram Turam. I seen links. Kefram Turam in the Juve, 20 million or something.
Madness. I'm just looking at some of the other rumors that have come up here. It boggles my mind to see Chelsea as the interested club with any players. But there's one on here that's got a little bit of Liverpool connection to it. It's from a couple of days ago, and it's Santiago Jimenez, who played with Arne Slot last year at Feyenoord, being rumored to be going to Chelsea. And I'm not going to lie to you, Keith. I've watched Mexico. I mean, I watched the 3 Mexico games in the Copa America, and he was not good. He was not good at all. So if Arne Slot can get whatever it was, 25 goals out of him, he's going to make Darwin Núñez like a 60 goal scorer, if that translates over correctly, which I know it doesn't actually. But it's you said it about Chelsea, like how they're absolutely taking the piss out of these rules and stuff. At a certain point, it has to stop. Like, they must need to at some point stick with some of the players that they've bought for, what are they, £1.5 billion over the last 2 years, players on 8-9 year contracts and stuff like that. Like, they got to stick with Nicholas Jackson. Like, he wasn't great. He had a good end to the season, but you're not giving out on Nicholas Jackson.
I seen something linked there that they're looking to keep him and not include him in any deals. And you're like, why the fuck would you be including them in a deal? You know, it's I don't know how they're run. I don't know how the way they what their thinking is. I think Todd Bowley seems like a head case, and then the other fella that's there that he says actually the brains of it.
Igbali.
I don't know if there's any brains in it, to be honest, what they're doing. I can understand, right? You sign players and Cole Palmer sticks, right? That's one. You throw shit at the wall, something's going to stick. I think Malo Gusto looks like he's a good player for them. He's only 20 or 21. I would make him the right back ahead of Reece James. That won't happen, but that's what I'd be doing.
I mean, it will, just because Reece James will get injured again.
Yeah, but he'd be named as the captain or whatever, and he'd be fucking, whenever he's fit, he'd be playing. And there's going to be players. New manager at Chelsea, Kev says, God knows what'll happen there. It's a mad club. And you see straight away, Enzo Maresca goes in there, and he's trying to bring Kieran Dewsbury Hall. It sounds like a bleeding law firm, doesn't it? Something about Valley McBeal or something. Kieran Dewsbury Hall. Trying to bring him in there with him. I like him as a player.
That's confirmed. That's a £30 million transfer, according to The Guardian.
Is he gone? Is he signed for Chelsea?
Yeah, according to The Guardian's transfer page on the 2nd of July, it was confirmed Leicester to Chelsea for £30 million.
Jesus. I thought it was just a link.
I don't know where he's going to play. Like, Chelsea must be selling some players.
Chelsea, yeah. Jesus Christ. So he signed for Chelsea. 30 million. That's mad. Yeah. Like, is he replacing Conor Gallagher just in the sort of midfield player that'll run around and have a bit of energy? What are they doing?
What Gav says, that reeks of Ross Barkley to Chelsea or Danny Drinkwater. I mean, I don't know if we need to start bringing out the heavy guns with the Danny Drinkwater comparison just quite yet.
At least, right, you can probably look at it and say Maresca is going in and he wants players that he knows and knows the system. If I'm a Chelsea fan and you're spending 50 million on him and Kellyman, I don't even, is his name Kellyman? Does anyone in the chat know? I think it's Kellyman. You're spending 50 million on a pair of them. And they've done deals, I think, did they, for William Estefão in Brazil, the highest, one of the top rated young players after Hendrick. Like, they're doing smart business in a sense, but they're doing too much of it, and they're spending way too much. They're a shit club. I hate them. I can't stand Chelsea.
Yeah, it says here that Omar Kellyman was transferred from Villa for £19 million after 6 Villa appearances. That's a good job if you can get it. 3 million plus. They've also signed Mark Gui, forward from Barcelona for $5 million. Tosin Adarabioyo on a free. And Bro has come back in from his loan ending, and I imagine he'd be going right back out again. So
yeah. Don't go unpacking there, Armando. You're out the gap. First opportunity that comes. But it just, I think it's, you know, these silly clubs, the PSR clubs are doing all these little scuttlebutt deals just to get compliant with the rules. Dewsbury Hall is a wedding venue in Wessex. Yeah, that's it. You know, I think that the transfer window will start now. I think Players coming back, getting knocked out of the international tournaments, you'll start to see movement, I think, with them. Like the Calafiori, Italy get knocked out, and the Calafiori news is coming, and he's close to Arsenal, and you're seeing that sort of traction. Is there anybody in the Euros that have stood out to you that you'd like to see Liverpool? Just, but not, just who you think would be a nice fit at Liverpool. Anyone, big name, small name, surprising?
I mean, I think the correct answer should be Nico Williams, but I just do not think that that's going to happen, like, at all. He'll either stay in the Basque Country because that's, his adopted home or his actual homeland, being born and raised there, or he'll wait. I think somebody said earlier, might have been Chris or Kev, somebody like that he'll be the next one off the rank for Barcelona, and they'll pay that. He's got a 49 million pound release clause, which is absolutely nothing. He's on a huge amount of wages, but wages are. It's no big deal. I mean, Baumgartner for Austria.
He's a good player, Baumgartner, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take him to us now because he's a bit of a, what is he? You know what I mean? Where does he play? But he's a good player.
Yeah, we've got too many of those players there. I'll give you a full homer left field shout here. If we sell Quaveen Kelleher and we need a backup goalie, Crepeau for Canada. To me, if you're making a team of the tournament for the Copa America right now, Canada's goalkeeper goes in. He has been outstanding. I never heard of this guy before the tournament started. And it's like Jesse Marsh had a choice between two keepers to take over, because we've had, what's his name? Bohan Bordian, old Bosnian guy that wore sweatpants for 15 years being our goalkeeper. And he finally packed it in. And Jesse Marsh needed to pick his new goalkeeper. And he picked this Crepeau guy. And he has been outstanding. He made 9 saves against Argentina in the first game to keep us in it. But he's a sweeper keeper type. It's a pure homer call. All I want is a good.
Hold on a minute. You're looking for us to bring in some 30-year-old Canadian third choice keeper who, let me check.
No, he's got to be French. Yeah, he's got to be French Canadian with a name like Crepeau.
30 in November, right? So he'll turn 30.
Give me some of that. I call that
wasn't even your first choice. Wasn't even your first choice keeper. Let me see his clubs he's been with: CF Montreal, Ottawa Fury, Vancouver Whitecaps, Los Angeles FC, and Portland Timbers on a free. He just signed for Portland there in January of this year, so it might be a hard one to do.
Outstanding. Archie Doolan's got it nailed that I am in fact an agent for the Canadian men's national. I've caught the fever. I'm not gonna lie. I've absolutely caught the fever. No, really, for me at the Euros, it's been the names that you'd expect. Like, it's been Jamal Musiala. Lamine Yamal. I didn't see a ton of them, but I'd heard the name. Like, you hear these murmurings of like Barcelona have another child that is an absolute fucking prodigy for him. To me, the biggest standout, I think, at the entire tournament, we don't need to sign him because it's Cody Gakpo. I think Gakpo has been dynamite. What about you? You got some names for me?
Do you know, I've enjoyed looking at Austria. I think they've been very good. And the centre mid, Nicholas Seewald, he was at Salzburg, and I think he's at Leipzig now. Sort of ginger-haired fella, was a good player. Now, I wouldn't look to bring him in and make him a starter for us, you know what I mean? But he's a sort of defensive midfielder. I'd like to look at him. Georgia, loved him. The keeper, fucking brilliant. He's been quality at Valencia. He'll be a first choice somewhere, but I think Shawnee Lawson said it in our chat the other day. If Allison can be parked, if Allison's there for 2 years and he doesn't go anywhere, he might be one to look to replace him with, because he's an absolute fucking beast and be a good player. Kvaratskhelia has looked electric for Georgia. I think you watch him and Nico Williams, and they've just been absolute dynamite.
His socks are too low, Keith. I'm drawing a line under it.
You're not into that now?
No. Give me a nice Harvey Elliott. Pull him up above the knee.
That might be a Canadian thing. And over in this side of the world, they were the Mavericks. They were the ones,
It reminds me of Jack Grealish. I don't like it.
Well, yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But the likes of the Turkish Arda Güler, you won't get him out of Madrid unless they want to sell him. But he's looked good. The fella in Turkey that we were linked with, Kochkil, was at Feyenoord and went to Benfica. And I
Yeah.
don't think he's done great at Benfica. I think he was one of Slot's main players at Feyenoord, and he's looked very good as well. He's one to keep an eye on. But it's been interesting. But you've sort of rudely, I must admit, jumped over to the Copa America.
Yeah,
So
buddy, it's on tonight. We're getting into
let's go.
the proper part of it. Well, I mean, yeah, we're into the quarterfinals tonight. We got Argentina against Ecuador tonight, Canada against Venezuela tomorrow. I think Uruguay, Brazil is Saturday or Sunday, and then the other game is Colombia, Panama.
Colombia and Panama.
Yeah.
So it's Argentina, Ecuador, then it's Venezuela, Canada, Colombia, Panama, and then the last one is Uruguay, Brazil,
which is the big one. The big one. I mean, just to go through them, because I mean, you're there repping the River Plate top. I'm Canadian, so I'm absolutely. I'm serious. I'm over the moon. We've done so much better than I could have ever hoped for. That we get out of a group that has Chile, Peru, and the best team in the world currently in it. I don't like the way they set the tournament up, though, Keith.
Well, that's. I was going to ask you, what have you thought about? I don't like it. I do not like it, and I know it's good for you because Canada are involved. I don't like the tournament. Did you see the shit about the pitches being too small?
No.
I was reading something. It could be. I had to check. Was it the 1st of April? They're saying they're not standard pitches because they couldn't get enough pitches that were full size, and they've had to shorten and narrow the pitches to make them all sort of uniform.
This is kind of a warm-up event for the 2026 World Cup. Like I know they won't be playing World Cup games at like Orlando FC Stadium or Kansas City FC Stadium where they played a few games, but like, you know, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, AT&T Stadium, Santa Clara in San Francisco is definitely hosting World Cup games. Like they got to get their. I mean, the U.S. Soccer Federation has a few things to sort out, it sounds like, because they got some coaching issues as well.
As you say, like the big stadiums will be fine. I mean, they have enough big stadiums to manage between, and is it a joint one or is it all the USA?
No, it's Canada, USA, and Mexico.
The World Cup is?
Yeah.
So you have enough stadiums to do in them, but maybe you're right. Maybe they're looking at using smaller teams, getting their pound of flesh for the Copa. But yeah, they had to make the pitches smaller. Players are giving out fuck about it. And I think Vinicius was running the muck about it, and he's giving out about the standard of the pitches. They stated them.
They've been
interesting.
They've been the standard of the pitches. It looks like, what was the one in Germany there? Stuttgart or something like that looked like a fucking World War I battlefield. Like just some of the quality of the pitches have been really bad, but it doesn't help that like the outside games, like the game that Canada played against Peru was in Kansas City, match day 2. And it was like, I think it was 43 degrees Celsius at pitch side for kickoff at like 8 p.m. local time. Like it's just roasting hot in some of these places. So you're much better playing indoors. But I mean, I don't like first off, I don't like the fact that the Copa America should be a South American tournament. The fact that they've invited 6 North American teams in is outrageous. Now, I would understand if it was Canada, the US, and Mexico got invited to the tournament because there's CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers going on right now. We don't need to qualify because we're hosts. So that makes sense because they had invited Qatar in the past when Qatar didn't need to qualify for the World Cup. So that makes sense. But what I don't like is the fact that we finished the group stage, we're into the knockouts, and if Canada beats Venezuela, we could end up playing Argentina again. They don't have a crossover of the group. So the Group A and Group B stay on one side of the bracket, Group C and D stay on the other side of the bracket. And I don't think that's the correct way of doing things, but I think it's been a pretty good tournament. There's been some pretty electric teams.
Yeah, I don't like the format. I don't like having, no disrespect to Canada, US, and Mexico.
No, I get it.
Panama, Costa Rica, and Jamaica.
Yeah, get out.
You know, there's always been invited teams. Japan have played in it, Australia have played in it, Qatar have played in it, Mexico have played in it, I think the US have played. You know, there's always an invite there for teams to go in because they'll do anything to make the money. And the fact that they're using it nearly as a guide for the World Cup, you know, you can understand bringing the North American teams in there. But outside of Canada, right, your beloved Canada, you'd be telling us the best player in the tournament has been on Blake in Canada with the way you're going. Any players stood out for you? I'll let you throw one Canadian in, but what players have stood out for you in the tournament?
Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez. They have been
Homer.
They have been excellent. The first game, Argentina against Canada, I thought Alexis McAllister was the best player on the pitch, like head and shoulders. Head and shoulders. But there's a blondie guy that plays for Venezuela, and I better learn his name because we're going to play him tomorrow night, that plays left wing. He was dynamite. My next door neighbor is Mexican, and so I watched that group fairly closely, and Mexico went out, much to his chagrin and my bemusement of it. But yeah, like Venezuela to me is a baseball nation. It's not a football nation. And for them to come out of that group,
I think they've been brilliant. I think they've been them and Canada. I think have been the surprise packages of.
I mean, they would have to be. I don't think anybody would have had Venezuela coming out of that group especially ahead of Mexico. And I think Mexico got quite lucky because I thought Jamaica played Mexico off the park in their first game, and Mexico snatched it late. So I think like Jamaica can feel kind of hard done by in that. But yeah, Venezuela have been absolutely a surprise package. Canada, I'm talking to some of my Canadian friends that follow football a little bit, and I said before the tournament, I think we can get out of the group, and they're like, you are insane. We're going to lose all 3 games badly. And we got out of the group, and I was like, in your fucking face, I'm telling you. But the level is rising, and I think it was Thor asked if CONCACAF and CONMEBOL merged, would it raise the level? I don't know is honestly the answer, because I just think that Canada, speaking again as a Canadian, we're so far behind where we should be just in terms of the size of our nation and the resources that we have. The fact that we don't qualify for World Cups consistently is embarrassing. The fact that we lose to Trinidad and Haiti and Guatemala and teams like that, and that feels like it's starting to change. I know a few people have taken my saying Jesse Marsh is a footballing genius a little bit too seriously. He is a CONCACAF level football genius. He's the best coach that the Canadian men's national team has ever had. I won't hear anything of it. They're getting out of this group, I think, is a bigger achievement for them than qualifying for the World Cup in Qatar, because you should qualify out of CONCACAF. It is a joke of a collection of football associations. Outside of Mexico and the United States, there's not great footballing nations there. We should be qualifying out of that. So I'm very happy about that. But no, it's the big nations that have really, really stood out. And I cannot wait to watch that. The Uruguay-Brazil game is similar to Spain-Germany tomorrow. Like, that is blockbuster. And Brazil being without Vinny Jr. because he's suspended because of his 2 yellow cards he picked up.
Yeah.
I think Brazil's going out.
I'm assuming it's Jefferson Soteldo. That's the Venezuelan guy there, like the little small fellow with the blonde hair.
Yeah.
He plays in Brazil for Grêmio. He used to play for Santos. I watched him a few years ago. He's a very exciting player. He's a good player. Sort of plays off the wing, but drifts into them central areas. He's a good South American player. He's the only one you've mentioned that doesn't play for Bleeding Liverpool that's impressed you. So is there anyone else, any other players that would, I don't want to hear about McAllister or Diaz
I'm sure you don't want me to go full homer, because I could just
you can give me a Canadian if you feel that a Canadian player is being the one to watch. Who was it?
I think the Canadian defender, I can tell you his first name, but his last name is Bombito, which is an outstanding name. He currently plays, I think, in MLS, but he's mooted with a move to a European team. Colorado. I think he's going to do well coming over to Europe. But like Kevin Sullivan says, Canada have some proper talent. It's a golden generation of sorts. Like, it's the first time I've been able to name all the players. And I think half of our starting 11 for the last game play full time in Europe, which is outrageous that we don't just have guys playing for Calgary and Edmonton and stuff like that, Canadian teams. Other than that, I've been handcuffed, and I'm not going to lie to you, Keith. A fair number of the games have been put behind an extra fucking paywall by TSN, the Canadian broadcaster, which is driving me absolutely bonkers because they show pretty much no other sports. I don't care about Wimbledon. I don't care about golf. I don't care about NASCAR. So I'm not paying them $30 a month to watch shit that I don't want to watch for the opportunity to watch Ecuador against Jamaica or something like that. So in terms of the coverage in Canada, it's been very disappointing that like about half of the games have been put behind an extra paywall. Not only do you have to subscribe to the channel, you got to subscribe to the Plus channel for it. But it's been the players that you think are going to, no, I got to give them the credit. I said it the other night watching Colombia play. I don't think there's a player I can think of that plays better for their country than their club than James Rodriguez.
He's
James
good, yeah.
Rodriguez looks fucking amazing. He's going to get another move to Real Madrid off the back of this tournament. Like, he's outrageous for Colombia. He's so good.
Yeah, he's very good. He's a good player. One player that's getting a lot of attention is Richard Rios from Colombia, the centre mid. The good player he is. Plays for Palmeiras in Brazil. Wears the 6, but he doesn't play as a 6. He's more of a box to box type of character. He's a good player. He's a player that's getting a lot of traction. And another one, and I hate to fucking say it, is another gem that Chelsea have at Ecuador called Kendry Poyes, and he's only 17, and they signed him last year when he was 16, and he is fucking dynamite. He's really impressed me as well. But you're not going to be able to bring in Kendry Poyes. He's Chelsea. He's going there next year, I think. After staying in Ecuador this year, I think it's like Jonathan David's been great for Canada. He's been brilliant. And to have a player like that, and an Alphonso Davies, you've got a couple of players there. Davies hasn't been as good, right? He's not been as good for a year as he was before that. But he's still a big name, a superstar. To have a couple of players like that you can build your team around, it's been good for Canada. I think Alistair Johnson, the Celtic right back, is a good player as well. They've got
pure donkey work, that Alistair Johnson. Like, he gets up and down. He does the defensive stuff. He doesn't really contribute on the offensive end so much. The biggest change for me between this tournament and qualifying for the Qatar World Cup, who's our coach then? Herdman, maybe? Something like that. Some no-mark guy. He realized that our path to qualifying for Qatar was Alphonso Davies. He was hands down, and he still is. He's head and shoulders our best player. And he had the freedom to do whatever he want. But he started as a left back. And so you'd see him drifting. So we had, it's called like the Ice Teca. We played Mexico to qualify for the World Cup in Edmonton in November. It was minus 30 degrees. There was 2 foot of snow on the ground. And we won a famous victory against Mexico, which helped us qualify for the World Cup. And in that game, Alphonso Davies was everywhere and anywhere he needed to be. I believe he either scored or set up the winning goal. It was fantastic. Jesse Marsch has him playing as a left back. He has license to get forward, but he doesn't have the license to end up playing right wing or standing around as a center forward or something like that. And the team has structure and solidity to it. And like Jonathan David playing up front, like, that's a quality striker. And I mean, he's playing for Lille. It's not top level, but it's top level.
It's big money as well. Yeah, big money to prize him out there.
He's a solid player. So it's unfortunate that in training this week, that Tajon Buchanan for Canada, just apparently it was a totally innocuous coming together of 2 players in training, fractured his shin bone. So he's going to have surgery on that. Probably missed the start of the season for Inter Milan as well, which is a bit of a downer. But I mean, you got to be familiar with the phrase house money, Keith. That's where I'm at, baby. This is all house money. This is all house money. And I absolutely love it. I told the guys on Sunday night, Keith, Gav and Emmett, I said, like, I'm starting to understand why you guys talk about Italia 90 so much. Like, you were kids when that happened, so it's even more deeper rooted inside of you. But there's something about seeing your team go to a major tournament and not embarrass themselves. Because Canada's performance in Qatar was fucking embarrassing. Like, it wasn't good. So,
well, you go into it, and like I said, we're looking at it straight into a quarterfinals, and you've got Canada and you've got Panama who are in there. That's surprised. You've got Venezuela who look absolutely electric as well so far, which you wouldn't expect to see. And you don't have a Chile, you don't have Mexico, you don't have who else?
USA
would be a strong enough team, yeah. Paraguay are decent enough, you know what I mean? But you have teams that are missing out, and you're getting, and it's similar nearly to the Euros in the sense that these smaller teams are having a better go of it than some of the big.
Are we the Turkey?
Are we Turkey? Yeah. Maybe with Georgia, I don't know. But the cup is different because Argentina look good, Uruguay look good, Colombia look good. So the big teams do look good. Brazil
Ecuador also look good though. Like, that's tonight's game is Argentina, Ecuador, and Ecuador are no pushovers.
I thought they started slowly and they've grown into the tournament. You know, they've grown into it. They started slowly, but they've grown into it, which
that group was a bit of a dog's breakfast there because it's Jamaica got to be really disappointed. I know the Mexicans are super disappointed, but to bring it back around and to tie it back into a Liverpool thing, it's a little rumor that I saw today. Jurgen Klopp for U.S. men's national team manager.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of US reports asking for that. He wouldn't take that. We just stop.
It's the last thing that I want. It would be almost akin to him going to United. Like, please, for the love of God, don't go to something that I actively cheer against. Like, it would be like being England manager. Please just don't do that. But I don't think that'll happen. I think that's just like supporters of the U.S. men's national team looking around, because I'm pretty sure it came out today that Greg Berhalter is leaving the U.S. men's national team as head coach, and he has to, because it was an embarrassing display from them at the Copa to not get out.
Well, there's it's not been a good sort of tenure for Berhalter there at the US. There's been showy happening, wasn't there, with Gio Reyna and all that sort of stuff. So there's been
Gio Reyna and his mom causing issues all over the place. But it's, I don't know. It's like, I mean, Scouser Pete's asking, do you think Canada can win it? Absolutely, I can win it. You want to know why?
Exactly.
Because we're still in the tournament. And
that
until
is
tomorrow
the correct answer.
Yeah, until tomorrow night, if we go out to Venezuela, I'll go out happy with what we've done, but we can still absolutely win it. But to be honest, no, I don't think we can win it. I think Uruguay is going to win this tournament, because Uruguay. Yeah, I think Uruguay look fucking dynamite. Hey, Darwin Núñez is absolutely smashing goals in for them. Absolutely smashing goals in for them. And there's no non-Liverpool player I love more in the entire world than Fede Valverde. I just think he is. I think he's almost the perfect midfielder. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, man is good for them as well. And it's not one for us at all. Facundo Pellistri, Manchester United winger, he's actually very good on the wing for them as well.
Yeah.
I can't see past Argentina myself, but I think Uruguay are the other team. They're the two best teams in South America for me. I think it's going to be them two meeting the final. But look, if you beat Venezuela, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility, you're into a semi-final. Anything can happen. Kev said there, any chance of these hurricanes interrupting?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I mean, the games are all indoors, so when you think of Hurricane Katrina hitting New Orleans, and all the people took refuge in the Superdome, so the Mercedes-Benz Stadium is the equivalent of that. And I don't think Dallas, Texas, is anywhere in the path of the hurricanes. San Francisco is definitely not in the path of any hurricanes, so I think they should be all right. But yeah, good luck to everybody down there, because it is the earliest ever recorded case of a Category 5 hurricane. So hey, climate change is not a real thing, is it? You're getting Category 5 hurricanes at the first weekend of July. So, speaking of first weekend of July, happy Independence Day, I guess, to any and all Americans. Ashley, who's a contributor on the channel, American, though part French Canadian. So, we'll come back around to that part there too. But happy Independence Day to all of you.
Yeah, happy 4th of July.
So shucking off the yoke of British imperial dominance.
Yeah, we can all get behind that. Before we wrap up, so we've gone through, we've done 40 minutes on transfers, which was very well done. We've done about 20 on Liverpool, which was fantastic. And then we've done another 20 or so on the international stuff. Is there anything else you want to chat before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's just about enough. I'm taking tomorrow off work so that I don't have to miss the games. Because a couple big ones tomorrow. Who do you like tomorrow in the big games?
Tomorrow,
Spain, Germany, France, Portugal.
Spain, Germany. I think Spain the best team in the tournament. I think Germany are going to beat them.
So do I.
And the other ones have been garbage. I think Portugal can beat France. It depends on how Ronaldo reacts to the absolute scenes that he put on the other night. But they got through. And I think on their day, Portugal could beat them.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I'll be up watching. Well, I'm going to try and stay up and watch the Argentina game. I think I'll be asleep well before then. But
what a 2 a.m. kickoff?
2 a.m. start. Yeah, I'll try to watch the Argentina games. That's if I can catch other ones, I'll do it as well. But we always try to catch the Argentina one. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, look, we'll wrap it up there. Gav's on his holidays. I don't know what the schedule is. I don't think there's anything tomorrow.
No.
I think we could be back Sunday. And I'm sure there'll be more stuff then coming down the tracks early next week. So yeah, look, we'll leave it there. Follow, like the show, subscribe, all that stuff. Leave a comment. Some of you will leave negative stuff. Look, we know that's the name of the game, you know what I mean? But just be constructive. That's all we'd say. Chris Brack, anyone would think he'd like I love South American football, Chris. I love it. I'd sell all football now for fucking South American football. To be honest with you, right? Liverpool, I watch Liverpool. I wouldn't watch Match of the Day. I wouldn't watch other Premier League games. I just think it's absolute fucking tripe. I'd sit and watch South American football. Do you know what I mean? I'd be watching all
the
that.
The Copa's been better than the Euros, game for game.
Copa's great because you still like kicking the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? Which is, there's a lot to be said for it.
It's late for you, Keith, but the second halves of some of these matches are insane. These guys will hand out cards like crazy in the first 15 minutes. And then the second half, they're like, shit, if I keep that up, we're going to end up with 9 players on the pitch. And it just turns into like a bloodbath. It's crazy. Wonderful. It's brilliant. It's great football. And I'm so sorry that it's like the time works against you guys so badly that the games are kicking off at 2-3 in the morning for you.
Well, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Bonkers LFC, good point there before we go. Arnett's press conference tomorrow. You touched on it earlier. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, we're getting back into it because as much as I've been hyped up about Canada, you know, having some success on the international stage, I am Liverpool before anything else. And it has been way, way too quiet. And there's just been like, there's no point in even checking Reddit. All the chats are quiet. So it'll be nice to start getting some content back in because, yeah, doing shows like this, I mean, we are both getting attaboy gold stars from the boss man Gav for getting 40 minutes of fucking transfer talk out of literally nothing we're talking about. So, yeah, I can't wait. I'm unbelievably excited because it's so unknown. Nobody has any fucking clue what's happening. And I can't wait to watch those first preseason games. I'll have to renew my LFC TV Go subscription so that I can watch the games live as I do every summer.
Yeah, we wouldn't change it for the world, would you? Wouldn't have it any other way.
Nope.
Right, so we'll leave it at that. This has been Keith and Matt talking absolute mauler for the last hour and 20 minutes. I think we've done well there. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for listening. Like I said, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. And we'll see us all again very, very soon. Good night.